Hello, all. A wonderful morning to all the participants who have joined the webinar today. You're looking at the endpoint management section under Manage Engine, and these are the list of products what we offer. And today, I'm going to extensively talk about the Mobile Device Manager Plus solution. So I welcome you all for the Mobile Device Manager Plus training program. My name is Ruben Karthik, and I am associated with Manage Engine for the past 7 years. I do the implementation and training on endpoint management solutions under Manage Engine. Let's look into the training schedule for today. Uh, so we have made the Mobile Device Manager Plus training series as 3 sessions. The first session, it will be about the onboarding process. So how you could bring in your devices into the MDM solutions for management. So that will be the first session, which I'm going to demonstrate today. Followed by next week, it will be about the app management lifecycle, how you could deploy applications to the devices remotely, how we can have a control on the app updates, and how you can whitelist applications on the devices. So these are certain policies which will be discussed on the second week of the training series. And at the last week of the training program, I will discuss about the modern management aspects of Windows 10, 11, and MacBook using our MDM module. So this is how the training schedule will be. And all these sessions will be recorded and it will be available in the below mentioned website. And also the recorded training video will be sent to all the registered participants once after the webinar sessions are over. And you guys can also visit the below mentioned link to check the videos and the question and answers discussed during the training session. All right, now let's see the training agenda, what we have in the store for today. So first, I'm going to give you a quick overview about the Mobile Device Manager Plus solution, an introduction about MDM and what are the ports required to manage your devices and what architecture does our MDM follows to manage the devices and how exactly an end device will be managed using the product. So that's a quick introduction. I'll give it to you. Then we'll get into the topic where I will demonstrate how you could onboard the devices which are already in use. It could be a company device. If not, it's the devices which are already with the employees, how we can register them into our solution for management. And also, if you have some new devices, how we could onboard that using a product. And then once after the onboarding process is covered, I'll show you how we can deploy certain basic policies to make the device usage ready and how you can secure and safeguard the corporate data available on the devices using our MDM solution. Right after onboarding the devices, I'll also show you how we can deploy some basic profiles and safeguard the corporate data on the devices. Followed by, I will also demonstrate how you could restrict the unauthorized access to your corporate mail account, how we can prevent that using the MDM module. And at the end of the training, I'll also share you certain real-time scenarios, what I have faced in my support experience, and the best solutions to approach those problems or those issues. Meanwhile, if you, the viewers, have any question for us, please feel free to post them in the chat. We have an expert panel team who can answer your questions then and there. All right, now let's get into the training session. So first, as I mentioned, I'm going to give you a quick overview and about the MDM. So using this Mobile Device Manager Plus solution, you will be able to manage Apple, Android, Windows, and Chrome OS. So these are the list of operating systems which you can manage using our Mobile Device Manager solution. And when it comes to the device type, it could be a smartphone, it could be a tablet, and a MacBook, or a Windows 10 or 11 laptops, and Android TVs, Apple TVs, and Chromebooks, Surface Hub. So these are the device type which you can manage using the solution and the operating system, which you can see in the top. And the Mobile Device Manager Plus component itself is available in 3 flavors. One, with Desktop Central, which is a unified endpoint software. Using Desktop Central, you will be able to manage laptop, desktop, servers, which runs on Windows, Mac, and Linux operating system. Along with that, you will also be able to manage smartphones and tablets, which on the operating system, which I just mentioned about. So this is a unified endpoint management software. So this is an entire suite to which you can manage all your endpoints. And if you're looking for a dedicated standalone product just for managing smartphones and tablets, then we do offer the mobile device manager plus standalone solution, which is available on both on-premise and cloud. And if we have any MSP audience today who wish to manage devices from different companies, like say they want to add a customer and add devices under each customer and then be able to separately manage them, we do have a multi-tenant architecture in the portal, which is called the Manage Engine Mobile Device Manager plus MSP edition, which is also available on both cloud and on-premise. So these are the three different flavors of mobile device management software, which is available under Manage Engine. And we understand an MDM administrator, any administrator would want to integrate with as many applications as possible in order to make the administrative job more easy. So that is why we leverage to integrate our solution with our own ticketing software called Manage Engine Service Desk Plus, or also you can integrate with other help desk solutions like Spicework, Jira Service Desk, Zendesk, and ServiceNow. And you can also integrate our MDM software with Zoho CRM, that is Client Relationship Management Software, and also the Zoho Creator application. So these are the list of solutions which you can integrate with our Mobile Device Manager Plus solution. However, if you're looking to integrate with any other application outside this list or away from this box, you can also use the publicly available API details, and you can find that in the below mentioned website or the URL through which you can perform a seamless integration. And if you need any assistance or help from our support team for this integration, you can always reach us through the support channels like chat, call, and email, and we'll be there to guide you. Now let's see about the mobile device manager plus architecture. And be it any MDM solution you go with, that all follows this very same universal architecture for managing the devices. And when it comes to managing the devices using the MDM solution, that involves three major components. One is the MDM server itself. It could be an on-prem or a cloud instance. That's the first essential component. Second, the notification services. So that plays a vital role in managing the devices even. The notification services. So for managing Apple devices, Apple push notification service plays a major role. And for Android, it's going to be Fire-based cloud messaging service. And when it comes to Windows, it's going to be Windows notification services. So these are the three notification service which plays a role when it comes to managing your devices. And the third component is the end device itself. So these are the three components which plays a role for managing a device using any MDM software. And to illustrate or to understand how exactly these three are interconnected or how the architecture is or behave, let's take an example. So as an administrator, we will all want to use this MDM solution to deploy an application remotely on the devices or enforce certain security policies on the devices or even to locate the devices. So likewise, we, the administrator, will use this tool to remotely execute certain commands. And let's take an example. Say I want to find out a location of my Android user, so who was in travel, or they want to find out where exactly the device is. So what I'll do as an admin, I'll log into the MDM portal, initiate a command called locate device, which in turn will be sent to the notification services. So if it is going to be an Apple device, this Apple push notification service will receive the command. And if it is Android, it's going to be Fire-based cloud messaging service. So this services will receive the command from the MDM server, will use the device UDID and unique serial numbers to wake up the device, and the device will know to which MDM server it has to communicate with. because that's where the MDM profile or MDM app installation is going to be. That's what we are going to see in detail today. So that the device will know to which MDM server to communicate with, and reaches the MDM server to know what command to execute. If it is going to be locate device, it is going to fetch the geo coordinates and send back to the server. And as an admin, we'll all be able to see that under the map view. So that is how the architecture will behave when it comes to managing these devices using this MDM software. Whatever command you initiate will be sent from MDM server to notification services, and notification service will use the device serial numbers or unique UDID numbers to wake up the device, and device will contact the server to execute the command, and it will post back the status to it. And here, when you go with on-premise based model where you want to host the solution internally, and as you see, the device needs to contact the server, and same way the server needs to contact the notification services in order to manage the devices. And when you have an in-house based setup, like when you go with an on-premise setup, you might need to make sure the server is exposed to the internet. So only then the device can communicate outside the corp network. Or else, even only then the server can contact uh, the notification services. And if you don't want to expose your internal MDM server, then you can place a secure gateway component in your DMZ zone, so which will only be exposed to the internet devices. So the devices, whenever they try to communicate with the server, they go through this secure gateway component. So that is what you can place it in your DMZ zone. And additionally, you can also integrate your MDM instance with directory services like AD services like Azure AD, Microsoft On-Premise AD, G Suite, and Okta. So these are a couple of directory services which you can integrate with our MDM. And due to this integration, you can sync the user information and group details, which is already created in your Active Directory, to this MDM software, so that it will be easy for you to assign a user to the appropriate devices, or even distribute a set of applications to the groups which is already there in your AD service. Instead of recreating your grouping under this MDM, you can integrate with directory services, and also you can sync the group information and user details. Anyway, you will understand the directory sync and the device management in the upcoming slides. And when it comes to an on-premise model, these are the list of ports which is used. Like 9383 will be used for the device to contact the server. An MDM server will use 443 to reach the notification services. And in order to know more about the port information, like whether it is inbound or outbound, and what protocol they use, is it HTTP or HTTPS, and so on, you can visit the below mentioned link. It's simple. It's www.manageengine.com/mdm-ports. Using this link, you get to know about the list of ports required and the inbound and outbound port information. So when you prefer to go with on-premise based setup, you can visit the below mentioned link. And how exactly an end device is managed? As we saw in the architecture, it's clearly mentioned, it states that it follows the client and server model. So whatever command you initiate from the server, it redirects through notification service to the device, and the device will have to contact the server to receive the command and post back the status. So you need to have a component installed on these devices in order to manage, right? And when it comes to Android devices, you need to necessarily have the ME MDM app deployed. But when it comes to Apple, Windows, and Chrome devices, you don't need to necessarily install another applications to manage. We just leverage the native OS client available on these devices, through which you can perform the management, through which you can get the management control. This is like a certificate installation through which you get the access on these devices, right? So for Android, you need to necessarily have the app, but when it comes to Apple, Windows, and Chromebooks, you just need to install the MDM profile. But having the ME MDM app installed on these devices will give you the additional benefits like a self-service app catalog where the users can go and choose the required apps and they can install. You can share files securely. You'll be able to remotely connect to the devices. So there are certain added advantages of having the MDM app deployed on all the devices. Anyway, let's get into the topic where I'll demonstrate how and what are the different ways you have to install the MDM app or profile on these devices. And before I give you the process, before I take you to the enrollment procedure, let me take you to the website and give you a quick walkthrough about the tool itself, like how exactly the MDM solution looks like. So this is how the mobile manage engine mobile device manager plus portal looks like. And under the home tab, the administrators can see the device type split up, like how many smartphones they have and how many tablets and laptops they have. They can check these details, and OS wise split up too, like how many Android devices and Apple devices you manage. And the super admin can also see the live audit information, like which user have logged in and what actions they have performed. In case if you have multiple role administration, an administrator can check what are the actions being done by the rest of the technicians. This is a live audit log feed, which you can check it here. And moreover, from here, like say I have a couple of iOS devices. I want to know which are the devices I manage. I'll click on this graph. This automatically takes me to the inventory dashboard, like the asset management page, where you can see the list of Apple devices alone, which we manage. So this list on all the Apple devices. And admin can also enable additional columns. Like here, you'll know which user has which device and the IMI number, the serial number, location status, and all other information. You can also enable the required columns from this list, and then you can export this information too. So from the home tab or any tabs, it's all interconnected. So you can click on these options and get to the asset management part to check these information. And then comes device management. Here is where you do all the basic management tasks like grouping your devices, and maybe you can even select an individual device and distribute the required policy and applications and so on. And here is where you add the required applications even and distribute to the required devices and share files and folders securely, remotely connect to the devices, send out announcement messages even if you want to put up a group notifications or about upcoming meetings or a holiday, any type of notifications you want to send out to the user, you can make use of the tool section here. That is what under device management, you can do all the basic management tasks here. And inventory is where you check the asset details and click on the device name to know more about the devices and this in-depth details about the devices and apps installed and all. And even if you want to perform certain quick commands like on-demand action, like immediately I want to lock the phone, remotely control the phone or wipe the phone, reset the passcode on the device, locate it. Like you can do all the on-demand instantaneous actions from this inventory tab. And also you can check the location data, like where exactly the devices are located in, and you can perform certain on-demand commands from here itself. And you will know the list of apps installed. You can even block certain applications and so on. And enrollment is where you onboard the devices. And this is what I'm going to cover in detail in today's session, where I'll show you what are the different types of enrollment you have. And using each enrollment method, what are the benefits you can avail. So we'll see that in the upcoming slides in detail. And reports tab will have some predefined reports available. You have reports based on application wise, hardware level reports, location data, and security level reports as well. And even if you wish, you do have an option to schedule the reports in a periodic basis. Like say as an admin, we would want to see the reports on every Mondays and Fridays. I'll go with weekly, Monday and Friday, morning 10 o'clock or evening 4 o'clock. I want to check certain reports based on the business needs. Like I want to know about the reports of apps, new app detected, device which are inactive, location history details, and so on. So you can choose the required reports and schedule them on a weekly basis or daily basis, and choose on which format you want to send or receive these reports in, and also the email address to which the report has to be sent over. So this is how you can schedule the reports. And under admin tab, you do all the basic administrative tasks like creating users. As an admin, you can create a technician and give a role to them. Like say this is going to be a technician. I want them to have only access to the sales department. or marketing department. So likewise, you create a user and give them access only to couple of devices or couple of groups even, and also the permission, like whatever level of role the users can have. Likewise, you can also create a customized role and assign it to the user as well, and also define the list of devices or scope of devices which they can manage. That comes under the admin tab again. Even you can rebrand it. Like instead of keeping the manage engine logo, if you want to replace that with your own company logo and company website details, you can also update that information here. And if you want to choose the report export details, when I export the report, I want to mask these personal information on the devices. You can configure those details here. So likewise, this gives you all the required options to configure under the admin tab. Under support section, you have live chat through which you can get in touch with us instantaneously. So this is going to be a 24/5 chat support, and within 60 seconds, our chat technicians will be able to pick up your chat and be able to assist you with the queries even. You can make use of it, and this is available within the portal itself. You can access it anytime. And if you want to talk over the call instead of chatting with the user, if you prefer talking over the call, you do have support toll free numbers here. And you do have request support through which you can register for a remote session as well. You can mention about the issue details and update the time frames through which our technicians can schedule the remote sessions to. So likewise, these are the support modes which is available under the portal. All right. Now let's get into the topic. As I mentioned, when it comes to enrollment is all about onboarding the devices into our MDM solution. For that to illustrate, let me consider myself as an admin, and I work for an organization called Zilker. So I have a task in front of me where my management have asked me to onboard devices which are already in use. So there are a couple of devices which is already with the employees. I have a task where I have to onboard those devices into the solution to have a corporate level management of those devices. And also I have a couple of new devices which needs to be onboarded as well. So first, let me show you how you could onboard a device which is already in use. And for that, we have two methods. One with email invite or SMS invite. So you can send out an invitation to the users directly to their email ID or phone number, where they will get a link and OTP, where when they click on the link, they download the app and have to provide the OTP to register. Then you have self-enrollment, where users can go to a common URL. This is like a self-registration, where a user can go to a common URL, which will download the app and provide the username and password to complete it. So these are the two methods through which you can enroll a device which is already in use, which is already there with the employee. And also, this could be idle for a BYOD phone as well. So if it's a personal employee's own device and you want that to add it, or you want to enroll them for corporate space management, you can follow these enrollment methods. So first, let me show you, and also let me tell you the benefits of enrolling the devices through these methods. When you add a device through email and SMS invite or self-enrollment, it isolates the personal and corporate data available on the devices on the same phone. You can create a separate workspace and be able to control that as well. You can isolate the personal and corporate information, and it can prevent file sharing between from the corporate apps to personal apps even on the same device. You do have an option to restrict it. If you wish, you can also have a separate passcode policy for accessing the corporate applications. Likewise, since this create a separate corporate space on the phone, you have the options to prevent file sharing, configure a separate passcode policies to these work applications and so on. So these are certain benefits which you can avail when you go with email based or self-enrollment methods. And let me show you how you can onboard a device by sending out invite first. And there's a workflow. An admin can choose to which user they want to send the invitation request to. They can target it to the user, and users can accept the invitation by clicking on the link or scanning a QR code, and the device gets registered within the portal. First, let me show you that. And for that, let me show you how you could send an enrollment request for Apple user or an Apple device. So for that, you go to the enrollment tab. And before you manage an Apple device, you need to make sure you have the APNS certificate configured to your MDM instance. The Apple push notification certificate is mandatory in order when it comes to managing your Apple devices. I have already added the APNS certificate to my server, but if you're doing it for the first time, this is how we would see it on the screen. When you go to enrollment and APNS certificate, you will get a three-step procedure where if you don't have an Apple ID, you can make use of the first link to create one. If you already have a corporate Apple ID, you can use the third step and directly sign into the APNS portal. Download the vendor signed certificate. So this is our management certificate, which you will have to upload it in the APNS portal, and Apple will sign that certificate and issue it back to you, which needs to be uploaded back here. So this is like a handshake. You download the file from our MDM, you go to Apple push notification portal, choose create certificate option, upload the file which has been downloaded from Manage Engine. Once after that file is uploaded, Apple will give you a signed certificate which needs to be downloaded and uploaded back to our MDM. So this is how you can integrate or configure the Apple push notification certificate. So only if you have the APNS signed, you will be able to manage the Apple devices. So Asim, I've done this already, and even if you, the viewers, haven't created, you can follow the step which I've just suggested. You go to the enrollment, APNS, and follow the on-screen instruction. Once that is done, how I'll be able to add an Apple user to this solution using the invite method. For that, I'll go to enrollment and devices section. Here you have enroll devices, where you can choose iOS or iPad OS. And if you know the user's email ID or phone number directly, you can search it for that and send out the invitations too. And when you onboard itself, you can choose whether this user belongs to sales team or marketing team or finance team likewise. And configuring this will help you to automatically distribute all the required apps and policies, which was already distributed to this department or to this group. So when a user follows this URL link, like when a user clicks on the link and enter the OTP to register, and it gets added to the marketing department, and automatically will get to receive all the corporate apps which is already distributed to this marketing group and also the policies associated with that. So this will make the administrative job easy. Instead of you adding the device first and then going to distribute the apps and so on, you can automatically choose this grouping option when you do it for the first time itself. And let me show you how the invite would look like when I send it to myself. You could see the invitation template on the screen where the user will get this link and OTP to which they can register. And let me show you what will happen when the user clicks on this link. So when iOS users clicks on this link on the phone, it will download. This will prompt the users to download the profile. The user needs to click on continue and allow the profile to download. And as soon as the profile is downloaded, that doesn't mean it will install right away. A user have to go and verify. So Apple have made it these stages to make sure the device is safe and secure, and they want to enroll only with a trusted source. So once the MDM profile is downloaded, the user have to go and verify what profile is downloaded, and they can make sure this is from the Manage Engine MDM, and then they can click on install. So then the profile gets installed on the device, and it will prompt the users to enter the OTP, which is displayed on the screen here. So the users will also get their OTP sent to that email or SMS number. So this is how you can send out the invitation to the users through the MDM enrollment tab. And as you see here, the invites are specific to an individual user. So for each user, you'll have to target and send out the invitation. And the OTP is valid only for 72 hours. So you can check the status here. When you click on Enrollment Devices tab, you will see how many pending enrollment requests you have and what about the request status. Is it expired or is it still valid? You can check all those information. And once the user successfully completed the enrollment part, then the users will get to see the devices under the administrator can see the devices under the managed tab. So this is how you can target the user and send out the invites. Moreover, you might wonder, I cannot always go and send out the invitation by selecting each user like this. Is there another way? Yes, you do have bulk enrollment where we do have a sample CSV file. So you can create a CSV file with username, email address, and platform type, whether it is iOS or Android. You can update a CSV file with these information and you can upload it here. So when you do so, this will send out the invitation in bulk for say you have 100 entries in the CSV file, and when you upload it here, our solution will broadcast this 100 invites to each user, which is there in the CSV file, and everyone will get their own unique the OTPs for registration. So this is also a way where you can send out the invitation in bulk. And now let us see about the other way, like when it comes to the devices which are already in use, the self-enrollment method, where you can go and configure a self-enrollment URL. So this URL is common across all the operating systems. So be it an Apple user, or a Windows user, an Android user, they can all access this particular link, which will download the MDM app, and this will prompt the AD username and password. So we have made the Active Directory authentication as mandatory step here when it comes to self-registration, because any user who have access to this link can register the device themselves, and through which they will also get access to the corporate application. So this is might be a security breach. So that is the reason when it comes to email invite, you have OTP based authentication. But when it comes to self registration, you need to integrate with Microsoft on-premise Active Directory service in order to authenticate the users. And when it comes to AD even, you can choose whether you want to give the permission for all the Active Directory group or only to selected AD groups. You can choose the required groups even from here. And you can also limit the number of devices a user can onboard themselves. So like when it comes to two, a user can self-register the devices only up to, on two devices. He might have a smartphone or tablet. Only on those devices, he can bring them himself. And as soon as the user registers the devices through this link, through the self-registration link, you would also get an email alert notification here. And you can also choose by default when an Android phone gets added, allow them to test group. When it comes to an Apple device, allow them to the supervisors group. Likewise, you can also choose the required group the devices can be mapped to. And this is how you can, and when a user clicks on the self-registration or self-enrollment link, generally most of the clients will even attach this enrollment link in the joining letter as well. So whenever employees join the company, they will send out this link so that they can register the devices with an MDM through which you can distribute the corporate applications and policies to the devices as well. And when a user clicks on this link on the device end, it's download the app and it will prompt them to enter the server details and username and password. So that is where they have to enter the AD username and password and domain name to authenticate the MDM application on the device. Once this is done, the device gets registered within the portal. So this is how you can onboard the devices which are already in use. So you can see on the top section, you will have enrollment request option where you can send out the invitation, and self-enrollment through which you can onboard the devices. So this will be idle for the devices which are already in use. Now let me show you how we can enroll new devices. And when it comes to a fresh phone or a new phone, the initial setup has to be manually done. They configuring iTunes, Siri, location service, passcode, like a lot of settings has to be manually done by will have to be manually completed. And moreover, an admin or a user intervention is required to complete these tasks. So how you can automate this, how we can bypass these initial configurations and enroll new devices in bulk. Because let's say we, the administrators, might have hundreds and thousands of devices in front of us to onboard. Like how easily we can add these devices into the solution for corporate management. And for that, let me show you what are the methods we have. For as an automated method, for Apple, we have Apple Business Manager, and for Android, we have Google Zero Touch and Samsung Knox. And for Windows, we have Azure enrollment as well. So these are a couple of automated methods through which you can add your devices. And we call it as automated because you don't even have to physically have the devices on hand in order to add the device into the portal or into the management solution. Using the device serial numbers, you can remotely activate the MBA profiles on them. And that is what I'm going to show you in today's session in the upcoming slide. And let me tell you the benefits of doing the enrollment through these automated way. You will have an option to silently distribute the application on the devices without waiting for the users to complete the task or without notifying the users. You can silently deploy the application on the devices. And then you can also whitelist apps. Like say, you might have some point of sale devices, or you might need to distribute this device to the delivery technician, or even if you come from the educational background where you want to deploy these devices to the students, or even in medical industries. Likewise, if you want to lock your devices with only certain applications, you can do that only if the devices are enrolled through these automated or device owner method. So when it comes to an invite method or a self-registration link, you will not be able to whitelist application on the device. You will not get a complete management scope. Whatever app you distribute through our product can only be managed when you go with those methods. Whereas when it comes to automated way, you have these enhanced control, the complete control on the devices, like whitelisting, blocking certain websites, or allowing only in certain websites to be accessible, and so on. And also, you can have a control on the OS update. So you can define when the update can install on the devices. Whenever Apple or Google releases an update, you can define the time frame, and you can also prolong the update time. So you'll have a complete control on the OS update as well. And you do have a complete control on all the profiles and configuration, meaning you can lock any settings on the devices, so like phone settings, camera, screenshots, any type of settings you want to restrict on the devices. You will be able to do that when you go with the automated method. When it comes to email invite or self-enrollment, you will only be able to control the work application or the workspace created on the phone. But when it comes to automated way, which is for new devices or corporate devices you want to manage, there is no concept of personal space and workspace. The entire device is managed by the organization. So you will have a complete support on all the profiles and configurations. And to add the devices through this automated way, as a prerequisite, you need to have an account with Apple or Google, and the devices needs to be purchased directly from the Apple Store or from the authorized resellers. And let's see the automated enrollment workflow. So first, we'll have to integrate our MDM server with the Apple Business Manager portal or Google Zero Touch portal or Samsung Knox portal. So you'll have to integrate your MDM server with the appropriate business portals and then add the device to the portal, and using the appropriate business portal itself, you can map the device serial numbers to our MDM. That's how the MDM profile distribution will take place. And then after, the device will get registered with an MDM. And so this is a simple workflow. I'll show you how to integrate, how to add the device, and how to distribute the devices, how to distribute the MDM profile of the devices even. So first, let me show you for Apple Business Manager. So for that, you go to the enrollment tab, go to Apple section, Apple enrollment. That is where the ABM and ASM is reported here. I've already integrated with my Apple Business Manager account. And again, if you're doing it for the first time, you would see an option like this, where you will have to download the public key from our file, go to ABM account, like you go to ABM portal, upload this key, and Apple will give you another token which needs to be uploaded back here. Similar concept of APNS, where you'll have to download a file and upload it in Apple site, and Apple will give you another token which needs to be uploaded back here. That is the integration procedure. And let me show you one by one. So once after you click on download, you can go to, if you don't have an ABM account, you can make use of the sign up option. If you already have one, please make use of the sign in option and then log into the Apple Business Manager portal. Go to ABM account, go to preferences. You have your MDM server option where you can click on add your MDM server. choose a name, like if you want to add it as MDM webinar server, you can add it as this, and upload the file which is downloaded from your MDM instance. Once that is done, you can click on the added server information and download the token, and you can upload it back here. So that is how you will do the integration. It's very simple for Apple Business Managers. They can just re-upload the token by downloading from the Apple site to the solution. And then you go to the device activation settings where you can bypass these initial configuration, which will be prompted during the setup part, like configuring Apple ID and iCloud IDs, or Touch IDs, passcodes, Zoom settings, or Siri, or payment, the terms and conditions. All of these initial configurations can be skipped off, which will make the end user job more easy. Because, like, say, after integrating, when you go and assign the MDM profile, the end user just needs to turn on the device. And as soon as the device gets turned on, it will verify the MDM profile and get installed. Nothing else will be prompted on the user end. So this will make the onboarding and the activation part more easy for the administrators and for the user end as well. So that is how we will be able to do it. And with my live setup, even as you see, I have already integrated with the server. You can go to modify settings and make use of this option, whether you want to skip all the setup or just a couple of settings only you want to skip it off. You can also choose the required options for Mac onboarding and Apple TV's onboarding and all, and you'll be able to configure the device activation settings here. And once the device activation is completed, you can go and register your Apple customer number or Apple reseller IDs here, through which all the device informations will be added to this Apple Business Manager portal. Once after you update this information, all the devices will be added to your portal, which as an admin, you can go to ABM, go to devices section, and you'll be able to see it here. So that's how we do it. And now, in order to assign the MDM profile to the devices, you can click on all devices, choose the edit MDM server, and assign it to the appropriate MDM server you've created with. If not, for testing, like say you want to select one or two iPads first, and then I'll go to edit, choose the assign to MDM server, and assign it to the appropriate MDM server I've created. So this is once I click on continue, these devices will be mapped to this MDM server. And when a user turns on the device, it will automatically verify the device serial number. As you see, these device serial numbers are mapped to our MDM server or MDM profile. So this verification will happen at the initial setup page itself. And if the serial number matches with the MDM profile, it starts to download and the device gets registered. That's it. Users cannot bypass the step, and no matter even if they do a hard reset or factory reset on the device, it will still come back with this MDM profile install, and you can manage them here using this product all the time. Because as you see, the device serial numbers are mapped to our MDM. As long as you release the device from the organization or unassign the device from the current MDM, the device will always come up with the MDM profile deployed. So this makes sure the device is always managed under this MDM solution. So that's an added advantage when you go with onboarding them through these business portals. And even if you want to onboard hundreds and thousands of devices, you can select them all in one single shot and you'll be able to assign the MDM profile. And once the user turns on the device gets reported under the stage tab. And based on the serial number, okay, you will know, an admin will know, okay, this device has been handed over to the appropriate user. So I'll click on assign user. It's been handed over to one of Rogers. Any person, you can choose the name and assign the device to, and the device goes to the manage tab. So that is how you onboard the devices through ABM portal. And when it comes to zero touch enrollment, which is for Android devices, similar way, you go to Android, you have zero touch enrollment here. You have zero touch enrollment steps, which you can integrate. Same way, you can log into the Google Zero Touch portal, and you will have to copy this JSON data. Like how we download a file and upload it in Apple site, for Google or Android enrollment, you'll have to copy this JSON data. So this JSON data will have which MDM server the device belongs to, and what's the token ID, what's the corporate Apple ID, or also organization ID. And then these informations can be synced to this Google server. And whenever you assign the MDM profile from Google Zero Touch portal, the device will start to report to this appropriate MDM server automatically. That's how we can integrate. So for integration, you go to Google portal again. This is how it looks like. You click on configuration, click on this plus symbol to add your configuration. And here you have DPC extras, which is even said here uh, with the following JSON as a DPC extra. You can use this for enrollment. So copy this JSON data, update it in this DPC extra section, and provide the company name and contact email ID and save it. Once this is saved, you go to the devices tab. Similarly, select all the devices and assign it to this appropriate configuration. And whenever the user turns on the device, it will automatically connect to this FCM, that is Firebase Cloud Messaging Service, will validate what MDM server has been assigned to this appropriate serial number. And if that serial number matches with any MDM server, it will start to show this display here. It's managed. This device belongs to managing an MDM. Users can accept and continue. As you see, the users cannot bypass this step. So it will always, no matter how many times they turn it on or reset and turn it on, it will still come back with this very same profile deployment option. User have to click on accept and continue, through which the device will get registered. So that is how you can onboard the devices through zero touch enrollment. And same way, Samsung also offers Knox enrollment, where you can create a Knox account and add the MDM agent APK and Play Store APKs and JSON data again in Samsung Knox account, and you'll be able to do it. Same way for Microsoft or Windows devices, you have Azure enrollment through which you can do the same set of process. Likewise, there are a couple of methods through which you can onboard your devices. And this is how the summary is. So these are the list of enrollment procedures we offer under the portal. And as to reiterate, as you know, when it comes to the devices which are already in use, or if it is a BYOD device, you can enroll them through email invite or self-enrollment. And when it comes to new devices, you can go with ABM or any of these methods. So even to show it in the portal, whatever you see on the top left, this is for BYOD devices or the devices which are already in use. Whereas whatever steps you see under this Apple and Android section on the left side, these are all for corporate enrollment or new devices where you want to take complete control. Like Apple offers Apple enrollment and Apple configurator, and Android offers EMM, zero touch, NFC, and Knox. So these are all the methods through which you can onboard new devices or corporate devices where you want to take complete control, where you want to whitelist apps and restrict website access, remotely connect to the devices, and so on. So this methods will give you a complete control, whereas the methods through which you enroll will give you the workspace management. Whatever app you distribute can be controlled using the MDM solution. So I've shown you about the onboarding process. Now let me show you how we can do some basic policies or basic provisioning to make the device usage ready, like Wi-Fi, email configurations, and so on. For that, you go to the management tab, enrollment for all the onboarding process. Once that is done, you can go to the device management section to group your devices, or even you can sync from Active Directory. So whatever group is already added with from AD will get listed here. So you can select the AD groups and distribute it. If not, you'll have to manually create a device group, add the devices by manually selecting like this, and then give a name, and you can also form a group as per your choice. So that's how we do it. So now to create a basic profile, let me create one for iOS and also for Android side by side. So this is the iOS profile, and I'm creating another one for Android. You do have quick options like this, where you can go to quick launch, create new Android profile. No matter in whichever tab you are, you can make use of these quick options even. MGM, Android. So first comes passcode policy, where you can choose whether it should be a number lock or a pattern lock, whether you want to give access to fingerprint or iris scanning, or you want to restrict these options. I want them to lock only with 4-digit number PIN. You can choose the required a passcode length as well. So likewise, you can make use of this. And also, I want my users to change the passcode every 90 days. So every 3 months, I want them to rotate the password for safety reasons. Likewise, you can define a passcode policy. Same way for iPhones, you can choose what should be the minimum passcode length. And if someone enters the wrong passcode, like if a device is lost or stolen and you don't want to lose the corporate data available on the devices, you can make use of this failure attempts limit. So if someone enters the wrong passcode for more than 6 times, it do an automatic reset. Just make sure the device corporate data is safe and secure and it's not compromised. So likewise, you can create a passcode policy, connected Wi-Fi even. I want the devices to connect to the corporate Wi-Fi automatically. I'll choose the hook card. This is the Wi-Fi access ready for us. And I'll use the appropriate protocol through which the device Wi-Fi connection should be connected. And that is one profile. And I'm adding another guest Wi-Fi profile as well. And you do have an option. If I'm going with the certificate-based authentication, I can also add that for guest Wi-Fi profiles. Likewise, you can choose the appropriate protocols and methods you have, and automatically, whenever the device comes within this Wi-Fi range, it gets connected. If that is something you can configure as well. VPN, you can choose whether I want to connect my configure Cisco AnyConnect VPN on all my devices. I'll be able to select these informations and configure as well. And wallpaper, exchange, mail settings. I want that to connect. I want to configure Office 365 and all my Outlook application. I'll do that. You have an option to choose email client application as well. If you're using on-premise server, you can also choose those additional information and whether you want to allow the camera, contact sync and calendar sync and so on. Likewise, you can create an email exchange profile as well. Likewise, you can create a profile based on your business use case, save the profile, and I will recommend always to test these profiles with 1 or 2 devices first. So go to devices section, select the device, let's say I'll select this device, distribute the profile or distribute the profile first, which I've created. Make sure how this profile functions. If it's working fine, then I'll go with groups, select all the devices or all groups, and I'll deploy to bulk for all my users. So basically, this passcode, Wi-Fi, VPN is something which I want to configure on all my users' devices. So I'll choose all users and all devices group, and I'll distribute the profile which has been created. I can distribute like this. So this is how we create the profile and associate to the users as well. And like say, this prompt will appear on the iOS users. As you say, it's an iPhone, and this will come up when it say when a user haven't configured any passcode. If not, if you have configured a 6-digit passcode, but a user have configured just a 4-digit PIN, then the users will get to receive this prompt, and this will keep on appearing as long as the passcode is configured based on the policy you have defined. Even if you can choose alphanumeric value, likewise, based on the passcode policy you have configured, only then the users can successfully configure or save the passcode on the devices and bypass this prompt. And when it comes to Android, this is how it looks like when it comes to a BYOD device. Or say when a device is enrolled via email or self-enrollment, users can see a separate workspace created. And as an advantage for Android, you can also create a separate passcode for work profile also. Like say, I don't mind what the user have configured for his personal device, but when it comes to accessing the workspace, I want that to be configured with a 4-digit number PIN or 6-digit number PIN. And I want that to be rotated every 90 days. Likewise, you can create a separate profile or a passcode policy just for this workspace. Okay, so that's how that is. So these are certain basic settings which you can use or configure through the profile management part. Remember, you can go to any settings here, Wi-Fi, VPN. You always have the help article at the top right corner. So this, when you go to VPN and you click on help article at the right corner, this explains about the VPN profile. Same way, if you go to Exchange Active Sync and you click on help, this displays about the Exchange Active Sync, what are the parameters to configure, and what this value stands for. All these explanations will be given or updated in the help article. Same way, when you go for Apple user or Apple profile, you can click on these required settings and click on help article to know about how the kiosk policy functions and what it is and all this information. More, you can make use of this help article as well. And if you have any doubts on these profile configurations or enrollment part even, you can always use the live chat and get in touch with our technical team too. So that's something you can make use of it. And now let me show you how we can secure the corporate data on the personal devices. So as I mentioned, when you onboard certain BYOD phones, how you can secure the corporate data, because the data breach might happen from one device to another. The users can transfer files over AirDrop, Wi-Fi, and Bluetooth and all. How we can prevent it? Same way, they can also upload it to the storage services on the cloud. How we can prevent that as well? Or on the same phone, from corporate apps to personal apps like WhatsApp, Skype, they can also transfer the files. So how you can mitigate this and how we can prevent the users from sharing the corporate files? That's how that using the profiles again, you will be able to restrict these level of settings. Like say when you go to restriction, network and roaming restriction, you can choose the Wi-Fi, which needs to be connected only if it is distributed via MDM. You can choose that as S. And same way for Android, even you go to restriction, network and roaming restriction, you can choose Wi-Fi to be always on and connect to the Wi-Fi, which is only distributed through our product. And device connectivity, like NFC, file sharings can also happen through NFC. You can turn it off. Bluetooth, you can turn it off. And moreover, you also have an option, like say updating the files on the cloud. So you can also restrict the user from taking a backup on restoring the data on Google servers. Even you can restrict these options. And file sharing between works, like that is what, from corporate apps to personal apps. If you want to restrict it, you have an option restrict both the ways, from personal to corporate or corporate to personal apps. They cannot share files. If not, if you want to restrict only from work applications to personal apps, you can restrict this option, restrict from managed to unmanaged. So if you apply a profile like this, let me show you how that will look like on the devices. So this is how the containerization looks like on the devices, where you see a separate briefcase icon on the work application. And when it comes to Apple devices, you will not be able to see any difference on the UI. But when it comes to functionality, the same appears. Like when a Apple user tries to transfer file from work app, the apps which are distributed through our product to the personal application, then the restrictions will apply. For Android, you can see a separate briefcase icon on the applications which is distributed, or separate workspace like this. But for Apple, there will not be any difference on the UI. But when they try to share files or take a screenshot and so on, then the restrictions will get applied for Apple users. And so that is what, before you apply this policy, like before I restrict the file sharing from corporate to personal app, whenever you share a document in the corporate mails or any files being shared, the users can open that attachment in any applications they want. But after applying this restriction, when they try to download and open the attachment, they get to choose the apps, whatever is distributed through our product alone. So the personal applications will not come up. Even when they try to share like manually or take a screenshot and do it, there's all restrictions will get applied on the device end. So the restriction you have based on use cases, you can restrict FaceTime, screenshots, and AirDrop functionalities, and so on. It's all based on your use cases. You can configure and distribute the devices. So that's how you can safeguard the corporate data available on the devices. Now for securing the corporate emails, we have conditional exchange access. I'll tell you the workflow. You'll have to integrate your MDM server with conditional access and enforce the policy, which will make sure only the devices whichever has the MDM enroll will get access to your corporate mail server. They can only then they can sign into your exchange account. If any user tries to sign into your exchange account without MDM, then the restriction will be like the access will be restricted. Let me show you how we can integrate and configure this. You go to the device management tab again. You have conditional access here. So this will let a condition to have the MDM profile in order to access your Exchange server. So you can go to server details, integrate with your Office 365 account, or you can integrate with your Exchange on-premise server account. Then you come to access policy. You apply this for all your user or only to selected user. Like say if I'm selecting 5 to 10 or 15 users, only when these 10 users try to access my Exchange server, the restriction will be cut off. Whereas when it comes to all users, any user who tries to log into my or to our Exchange account like Office 365 or on-premise server, and if they don't have MDM, they will get this notification from, as per company policy, devices enrolled with MDM can only access mailbox. Use the self-enrollment link and register your phone. So only when the user registers the devices within MDM, they get access to their Exchange server. They only then they can sign into your corporate Exchange account. And you, the administrators, can also monitor the status here, like which are the devices try to access my Exchange server and whether the access is allowed or is it blocked, is it restricted. It's blocked since the device is not enrolled. So you can also give a grace period, like I want to give 8 days time for them to restrict. So likewise, you can choose the required policies as well. Okay, so this is how you can integrate with the Exchange server and secure the access of unauthorized access on the corporate mail accounts. All right, we've come to the end of the training, and I'm going to share you some scenarios what I faced in my support experience. If you have any questions, please feel free to post them in the chat. Our panel team can answer your questions right away. And even if you would like to have a personalized demonstration where you want to have a one-on-one session with our senior technicians to discuss about the product implementation or setup part, please feel free to raise that request also in the chat box, where based on your business case, we can help you in onboarding the devices and setting it up as well. Now, let me tell you the scenarios what I wanted to show you on today's session. These are certain common questions which has been asked during the support process with respect to the enrollment topic. The first one, is it possible to enroll devices which are not purchased from Apple Store or from authorized reseller through ABM? It is not possible. When it comes to Apple Business Manager, you need to make sure have the devices procured from the Apple Store or from authorized resellers. I'll tell you the reason why. Because you're going to use the device serial numbers to tie up to an MDM profile. And once that has been assigned, no matter how many times the user resets the phone, it will still come back to the MDM profile. So all we need is just the serial numbers to map it with the MDM profile. So we cannot blindly update the device serial numbers here and assign it to the appropriate MDM server. So that is the reason you'll have to make sure the devices are purchased from Apple Store or from the resellers who can import those device information to your ABM account. But still, in order to get complete management access, you can go to enrollment and onboard the devices through MacBook, that is through Apple configurator technique. You can create a profile, add these devices to ABM even from here. So it's something where you need to physically have the device on hand, connect them to this MacBook and distribute the MDM profile to them. And also you have this option, whenever you distribute the MDM profile through MacBook, still, even though the devices are not purchased from resellers or from Apple Store, you can add these devices to the ABM portal. So when you do it with Apple configurator. But the checkpoint here is the device needs to be manually connected to the Apple configurator MacBook for profile distribution part. So that's how you can onboard the devices which is not purchased from Apple Store or resellers. Same way for Android. If the devices are not purchased from authorized resellers, will it be applicable for zero touch or Knox enrollments? It's again, you'll have to use the other methods like EMM token. It's another way of easiest way to onboard the devices too. Where you can go to EMM token method, go to based on the operating system, you can choose the appropriate way. So on the welcome screen, you can tap it 6 times, which will open a code scanner, and scanning this particular QR code will register the device. So if you want to have a complete control, if you want to have a complete provisioning on the devices, it has to be a new phone. If not, you'll have to factory reset. And from the initial welcome screen, you'll have to onboard the devices. So that is the major criteria when it comes to have a complete control. So for all these four methods and two methods, this is what it has to be a new phone, or else you'll have to factory reset, and from the welcome screen, you'll have to onboard it. And what will happen when two contradictory profiles are applied? Like say, in one profile, the camera option is allowed. Another profile, the camera option is disabled. How does the device behave for this? So it's all subjective to change based on the operating system. Let's take for Apple devices, the most strict policy will override. So, for example, in the first profile, I restricted camera and I've applied it. But in the second profile, I allowed it and I distributed to this Apple device. But still, the camera option will be disabled. So, no matter how many more profiles I distribute with having the camera allowed, still the camera function or the feature will be disabled on the device when it comes to Apple because the most strict policy will override. As long as the first profile, the user goes and modify it and allow the camera, then only the users can access or activate the camera option. If not, it will always be disabled. But when it comes to Android, the most recent profile will override all the existing settings. So no matter how whatever options you have restricted, when you apply a new profile with all the options enabled, it will override and the options will be allowed for the users to use. So for Android, the latest policy will override. For Apple, the most strict policy will override, meaning if, whatever policy has the restriction, that will get applied on the Apple devices. And how can we ensure the users connect to the Wi-Fi whichever is distributed through MDM? I don't want my users to connect to any open source Wi-Fi. How I can prevent it? Same way, you can go to profile, go to restriction, network and roaming restriction. Here is where the option is connect to devices only, which is distributed via MDM. Same is available for Android as well. Restriction, network and roaming restriction, connect to Wi-Fi devices, which is distributed by MDM. So whatever profile you configure through this solution and distribute only on those Wi-Fi profiles, the users can connect the devices with. How can we prevent sensitive corporate content from being displayed on the lock screen? This is like sharing an OTP. Like when your user receives an OTP, I don't want to share that information. Or when a user gets a corporate mail, I don't want to display the content on the notification screen. How you can have a control on these level of settings. So again, using the profile, using the restriction, security restriction, you have lock screen notification preference, where you can choose do not show notification at all. If not, hide sensitive content. So what will happen is they will get just a notification like one message received or one message in WhatsApp, but they will not know what content is displayed unless and until the user unlocks the phone. So this will might also be helpful for the users to configure on the profile. Another scenario, you might already be using another MDM solution, and you might wonder, is it possible to have both on the same device? It is not possible. It can only have one MDM profile or one management profile on the devices. And is it possible for you to migrate from your existing MDM to our managed engine without resetting the device or without re-enrollment? Yes, using your existing software itself, we do support the MDM profile migration. We have a KBO article. If you're looking to migrate your devices from your existing MDM solutions to our MDM, you can either go to Google and type for the document. If not, you can request in the chat box. Our panel team can share you the help articles. Or else, even if you want to set up a personalized demonstration or a discussion about the migration or onboarding process, feel free to raise a request on the chat as well. You can set up a time frame at mutual convenience, and we'll be able to get connected for further implementation part. These are the scenarios what I felt like sharing in today's session. Please rate us on a scale of 1 to 5, that 5 being the best. And you can also use the social media platform and tag using the hashtag like manage engine or /manage engine mobile device manager plus, which will boost our which will boost this. And also, if you have any suggestions, feel free to post that as well, and it will be really helpful for us. Thank you so much for your time again. And we'll have the next session about app management and device security provisioning, which is going to happen on 17th May. at 6:30 Eastern, 6:30 GMT and 11:30 Eastern time. And thanks again for all your valuable time. Take care.